So, in class, we have been learning about the transition from absolute monarchy to constitutional monarchy in England, and this aligns with the World History Standard 4.9, which is described right here. So, to review this topic or standard, I chose to create a timeline, and I titled it The Road to Constitutional Monarchy in England, which is just a series of events that led up to the constitutional monarchy. So the first event was in June of 1215, and it is the signing of the Magna Carta by King John. So here's a little description of it, and basically King John was just a tyrant. He was like a dictator. He wasn't being a fair ruler, and so he was forced to sign this, agreeing to uphold the law and run a fair government. He did not keep his agreement, but the signing of the Magna Carta does show a great leap towards constitutional monarchy from absolute monarchy because it was the first, it was like the first document to be signed that gave limits to a king's rule. So our next event in the road to constitutional monarchy is all the way in the 1600s, and this is the English Civil Wars. There were two separate civil wars, but these both ranged from August of 1642 to September of 1651. So these two civil wars lasted almost a decade, and they started as a conflict between King Charles I and Parliament in 1642. This argument was over who should control the army in order to destroy the Irish insurrection, and that the Parliament also opposed the king's policies. So the Parliament won the Second Civil War, which led to a government in England ruled by the elected representatives of the people. These wars had a major impact on the road to constitutional monarchy because the right of the king was abolished. So the next event to happen is King Charles' execution. He was executed in January of 1651 it was January 30th of 1649. He was sent to trial and was found guilty of tyranny, murder, and many more. He was executed by being beheaded. Our next series of events takes place in the later 1600s. The next event is the Glorious Revolution. This was both a religious and political war that replaced King James II with joint monarchy of his daughter Mary II and her husband William III of Orange. This was a religious war in which King James was Catholic while Mary was Protestant. They were kind of scared. They were not wanting Catholic succession after King James because of how closely Catholicism was with the French, and the people of England didn't really like that. The revolution set England towards constitutional monarchy because it established the supremacy of the Parliament over the crown. This was done by restricting the king or queen to a set of laws such as the English Bill of Rights and the Act of Settlement, which we'll go over next. So in December of 1689, the English Bill of Rights was signed, and this basically just gave rights to the Parliament and laid down the rules of the monarchs. And in January of 1701, the Act of Settlement was signed, and this act mainly puts restrictions on who can inherit the crown. It states that only Protestants can inherit the crown in England and Ireland. So basically, anyone who is in line for the throne, if they were Catholic or they married someone who was Catholic, they no longer were in line for the throne. This act also limited the power of the monarchs in respect to the Parliament. This act is very close to what the English Bill of Rights states. So in short, absolute monarchy in England was basically the king had total power. They could do whatever they'd like. And constitutional monarchy in England was that the king has no power, which is how it is now. The current queen has no power unless it's in a state of emergency, which rarely happens. And yeah, so this was the road to constitutional monarchy in